The target in this video that we try to achieve is to enable anyone to use Microsoft Flow to run D365 RSAT. The ultimate goal that we would like to achieve is to allow full orchestration of automated testing in D365 from Azure DevOps without any coding. So we'll walk through three things in this presentation. One is a short overview of the high-level solution design. Then we dive into a more detailed picture, and then I will demo running the RSAT tool, controlling the RSAT tool from Microsoft Flow. First of all, the high-level solution design. As we have today, we can manage test suites and test cases in Azure DevOps. And Microsoft provides us the RSAT tool to basically run those test cases in D365, aided by a tool called Selenium. Selenium is a generic tool to allow automated execution of web applications. What we are going to put in the middle is Microsoft Flow, and Flow ultimately will have to iterate through the test case in Azure DevOps and start RSAT on the Windows VM in the background. First, let's dive into what we have today. So if we look into the VM where RSAT is running, then we have this RSAT tool that's basically pulling information from Azure DevOps. So right here I have a setup where we have a very simple scenario where I'm going to create a customer, and I recorded this very simple scenario before in Dynamics. We can run that through the tool directly, or we can use the command prompt to run it. And the two famous commands to do that in the first place is playback by ID, so here you can run a test case directly, or you can play back a full suite of test cases, and then they will run sequentially. So RSAT will pick them up and run them sequentially. Not really what we want, because in some scenarios we would like to allow parallelism. So back to the overview. So we would like to put Flow in the middle, so the RSAT execution is happening in the background. So how are we going to achieve that? In the first place, we're going to set up a flow as per this design, where we're actually composing a file name. We're dropping the file with specific content into this VM, and we do that through a component which is called the Data Access Gateway. That is a pipeline into any machine, which allows us to read and write files from and to the VM. So in this case, we have set up RSAT with a folder structure in an archive. So we're going to produce a file with Flow, which actually contains one or multiple test cases to be run. And later on, that content is to be populated with real content, a list of test suites read from, a list of test cases read from Azure DevOps. That file is dropped into the in folder and is picked up by a PowerShell script. This is a one-time investment to write the PowerShell script, and I will provide that script through GitHub. That script is polling the in folder every couple of seconds, and it picks up the file when it's there, and it's going to basically kick off RSAT. So it's going to orchestrate a command prompt command here with the actual test case or test cases or even the test suite to be executed. And then according to normal procedure, that will execute the task guide in Dynamics 365. So the flow is, Flow produces a file, Flow drops that file into the in folder, PowerShell is reading that in folder, then PowerShell is actually kicking off RSAT and is archiving the file, and then RSAT, as per normal procedure, will execute the task guide in Dynamics. And then we also let PowerShell output log files into the archive folder. So first of all, the log file that represents the actual operation of the PowerShell script, so what the script has done with the date timestamps, and also outputting any output from the RSAT tool into a separate log file. And those log files are dropped together with the original file into the archive folder. So let's take a look and really see this in action. So what I've got here is my Dynamics 365 environment, my target environment. Right now there are no customers in that environment. I have Azure DevOps with a customer management create customer test suite, and there's only one test case in there, and that is an RSAT enabled test case. And here we've got our flow to basically drop the file which instructs the RSAT tool to actually run. So that flow is constructed as we saw earlier. If you run it, it will be done very quickly because dropping the file basically happens in 1 or 2 seconds. So as you can see, it's running. If I refresh, it's already done. If you go into that run, we'll see that it's actually done and that it has dropped the file. And it has dropped the file, as you can see here, with content 30139, which is my test case. It dropped it into the RSAT in folder. So if we're going to the VM, we're going to that folder, we will see that the file has already been picked up by the script because it's empty. If we go into the archive folder, we see that the pattern is that we should have 3 files, one representing the content, and as you can see, the third file now appears, so we know it's done. So let's validate the results. First of all, this is the file that was dropped, the run_.rsat file with the date timestamp. This is the 30139 that we instructed PowerShell to pick up and forward to RSAT. And here in the log, we see what the PowerShell script has actually outputted. So first of all, this is an indication that it picked up the 30139. It archived the original file to the archive folder. It started the execution and the logging for the execution. And as you can see, it took about 40 seconds to execute this case. And that ended the logging. Then if you look into the other file, the _result, then we can see the actual result outputted by the RSAT tool. So we had 1 passed test case out of 1 and 0 failed. So let's take a look at the results according to standard RSAT operation. So first of all, if we go into my customer base, then here I have my new customer. And in Azure DevOps, if I refresh this view, you will notice that in line with the log file, this one is now passed. So if I go into view results, this is obviously all standard behavior, then we'll see the actual result of the run with the values actually which have been inputted. So here's the RSAT demo customer. It was created against customer group 30. And as you can see, that happened 2 minutes ago. So that basically concluded the demo on how you can utilize Microsoft Flow to execute a test case through the Dynamics 365 RSAT.